Okay, so let's see. I have nothing for the beforehand thing, so I'm just gonna take a sip of the coffee, relight the cigar, and we will begin. Welcome to the Dude Catholic Podcast. I'm your co-host Adrian, here with three men who not only make chickens lay eggs, they make them lay omelets with a side of sausage, whole wheat toast, and a glass of orange juice.
I'm Javier.
Dennis.
And Michael.
Today, we start a two-part episode, I'm guessing because we always go over the 20 to 30-minute threshold,
We always
and
do.
I'm glad we do.
Indeed.
And we called this episode / mini-series Big Brother. Our scripture today comes from
Ephesians 6:12. For we are not contending against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places.
Delicious.
Indeed. So let's get this podcast on the road. The whole idea behind the title of Big Brother is government overreach and how we are not helpless against this overreach. Why? Because we, the people, are the ones they work for. And I think we've forgotten that. While that may or may not be the leading thought behind this, I see that, Javier, you have a lot of notes.
I do. I want to start off by reading a quote. As you guys all know, the president addressed the nation last week, and it's crazy because
I know where you're going.
It's crazy
Get
because
on my mind.
it's crazy because I watched the speech live, and it's crazy because we were supposed to record this podcast last week on Thursday on the 9th,
Mhm.
but we couldn't, because of a family incident. But anyways, we're here now, and obviously, God had a reason because we have Michael here with us today. So
Yes.
we're blessed here. Anyways, so I want to read this quote. I want to start off by reading this quote, and then we can all kind of, chime in and talk about this. President Biden said in his, 30-minute speech about vaccinations being mandated, he says, this is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and others. Okay. The key is it's not about freedom or personal choice. It's not about freedom or personal choice. I don't know about you, but that sounds very socialistic to me. Big Brother, definitely alert coming to you. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, it certainly reeks of socialism. This government being the ultimate decision maker of choices that should ultimately be left to the individual. I mean, this goes against Catholic social teaching, does it not? I mean,
Yes, it does.
Mhm.
goes against the whole nature of us having free will. Whether this is good for us or not. Of course, there's so many unanswered questions about the vaccine itself. But even if it were to be completely safe after rigorous testing and waiting the normal length of years to see the side effects, that does not give the government a right to mandate this onto people. So, this whole thing with socialism, not to get off topic, but I mean, it's so interconnected. Finally, it can rear its ugly head after being in a sort of a gestation period for decades. It's ever since, of course, the French Revolution days into the 19th century, and we've seen it manifest through attempts at the Soviet Union and China and so forth. But here in America, there was such a spirit of liberty, of these amazing principles, this experiment in democracy that nowhere else in the world had seen. But
Yeah.
because of the crumbling of it, now the socialists and those sympathetic to it, otherwise well-intentioned, good-hearted people, but poorly catechized, poorly educated, and certainly indoctrinated, these people can rear their ugly heads. I know I deviate a little bit, but it's all kind of connected.
No,
Mm.
indeed, it
It's
is.
almost inevitable. Yeah, I can't help but think of Archbishop Fulton Sheen. He said something along the lines of, communism can only thrive. It's like a vulture. He compared it to a vulture, that it can only thrive when something is decayed, and when our civilization is has decayed or is decaying. Breakdown of the family, and then just ignorance of the greatness of Western civilization, combined with an attempt to eradicate that intentionally. Only then can communism and all its other illegitimate offspring can thrive. All right, enough of me.
Yeah, and it's funny because we just went through a pandemic, and we're still kind of going through one in a sense. And you notice that one of the things that was taken away from us was our religious liberty, our right to worship, to assemble in the name of God. And you think about that, how right away the government in a lot of places in the United States, right away they went to that. They started shutting the churches, right? They started closing the churches. And then you think about why the churches? Why did you go after the churches? Well, if men and women stop depending on God, on religion, then they have no other choice but to depend on who? On Big Brother, right? To Big Brother wants to be the one that tells them what's right and wrong. Big Brother wants to be the one that tells them what to do, how do they live their lives, etc. And you take religion away, and not only religion, but community, right? You're definitely going to have some of these sentiments coming to the forefront.
Yes, I agree with both of your assessments. I want to bring in some facts first to counter President Biden from Dr. Ryan Cole, who's an immunologist. He specializes in this, right? He knows more than your family doctor, right? This is what he does for a living. And YouTube's been deleting his videos. Again, another arm of the current communist government. And Dr. Ryan Cole, which you can find him on frontlinedoctors.com, the fact check these stats. He goes on to say that, for one, the vaccines, right? Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, none of them have been tested long-term, as we know. He said usually vaccines are tested for at least 3 to 4 years on animals. He said right now we're guinea pigs. And he said that doctors are turning a blind eye, right? He said doctors are receiving an incentive, right? They're also not wanting to lose their job. Dr. Ryan Cole is risking his own career in saying these things. So he basically goes on to say a few different points. He says, for one, the vaccines are not safe. He said it has about 30% chance of causing infertility, as he's seen in the rats so far in his own study as an immunologist, his own experimentation. That for humans, it's about 30%, because the rats are about 16% infertile after receiving these vaccines, and they have a much higher fertility rate than we do. So moving on, he goes on to state that the vaccines themselves, we don't know what they're going to do long term, right? We have no idea. He said they don't work like normal vaccines, right? As we know that it affects the RNA. It doesn't act as a normal vaccine does. So with that being said, he also goes on to mention how the religious aspect of it. He himself, I'm not sure if he's a religious man or not, but he does say that we shouldn't be forced to receive something that's connected with abortion. As many people that care about the abortion, basically what's going on in the society, we don't want to support that, right? We don't want to support what's already been taken advantage of in our society, if you will, or I should say, just not even shouldn't be taken advantage of, but rather I should say is should be illegal, right? But it's legal, and they're using these legal means of aborted fetal cells to develop some of these vaccines, or at least test on them as well. And so he mentions how these vaccines don't even protect against the Delta variant, right? So the fact is, the Delta variant is what's affecting us right now. That's why things are closing down again. So he said, why are we enforcing these vaccines that aren't even protecting against new variant? And he said there's going to be new variants that occur. There's going to be several new variants that occur, each of which are contagious, but they're less deadly, right? And so at the end of the day, this mandate makes no sense, right, scientifically, from a scientist himself. And again, I encourage everyone who's listening to go and watch Dr. Ryan Cole. It's about 30-minute interview. He goes into a lot more detail, but basically you get the idea. This seems like simply a power move on the part of the government.
Funny, as the president was walking off after he finished his speech, a reporter yelled out, "Mr. President, is this constitutional?"
Oh,
And he's just obviously he just jetted out of there, right?
he's like, yo.
Yeah.
No, you know what he said before? I think we left out a very important part of the speech, right? And that's when he said, we've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Wow.
What the heck does that mean?
Wow.
Why don't you go ahead and tell the people that started, who live in a country that started with rebellion? You know, freedom is what America is known for. And for him to utter those words to the American people and for people not to do crap about it,
Yeah.
that's concerning. And here's the thing, like, we can talk about the efficacy of the vaccine or whatever. I can tell you, I took the vaccine. I took the vaccine because I saw this coming. I'm a public school teacher. I knew from the beginning that they were going to do this crud. So my wife and I were like, all right, let's take the vaccine. So we took the vaccine. Like I already got in my mind, given a certain sickness that I had for days, that was very, very like what COVID symptoms were and are. I figured I already had it because it knocked me down for 5 days. I never get knocked down by a sickness. So that was a
Wow.
weird situation. The
Wow.
vaccine did nothing to me. When people are saying, oh yeah, you're going to get the chills and this and that, it did nothing. So I figured, okay, I already had it. So I probably already have immunity, but I still took it because I knew my job was going to be in jeopardy if I didn't eventually. I saw this coming. I think a lot of people saw this coming. A lot of people listening, you're pretty smart. You know what's up. And it's not enough that they silence the America's frontline doctors. It's not enough that they deplatform them. They're not allowed on YouTube. They're not allowed to have any voice. Like if you really think they're a joke, prove them wrong. Don't just tell them you can't speak in public, because they have their right to free speech, even if they're wrong. I mean, people are free to speak their communist ideas all they want because we have the First Amendment, but it seems like it's only a one-way street, and Big Brother's out there, big tech is out there censoring people who are saying certain things that do not go with the narrative. And that's a big problem in a country that prides itself on freedom. People from around the world, when they're trying to fight oppression, they don't fly their own flag. They fly an American flag for a reason. Pretty soon, Michael, we're going to have to be flying the Polish flag because they're the only ones with the guts to fight back whenever oppression comes to them, because they know oppression. A lot of these people, and out of all people, I heard Bill Maher talking about this stuff. They've never known oppression. But there's people who are alive today who remember it. It's not that the ideas are so new and innovative, it's that they're stupid. And this is from Bill Maher, who is a liberal.
Yep.
But you find that classical liberals are out the door now because their ideas are far too conservative for the new radicals that are coming in wanting to oppress us. I mean, and it may be a good thing that we waited till this week. No, it's not really a good thing because we had death in the family. But they just, I think it was yesterday, they deplatformed Nicki Minaj, right?
No way.
But yeah, they just deplatformed Nicki Minaj, who is, by all means, a person on the left. But because she posted something regarding someone's fertility that she knows, they just said, oh, we got to cut her off. Why? Because she has millions of followers. And if she, who is on the left, is speaking against this vaccine, against the mandate, so not so much against the vaccine as against the mandate, against people having that kind of authoritarian power over us, they may do something. They may start waking up, and they're afraid. Why? Because we're a force to be reckoned with, not because of us, but because we are Christ's. And if we belong to Christ, then we have some scary ideas for those who want to oppress us.
And it's not only the government, or people, trying to shut you down from, expressing yourself, your religious views, or any ideas that, go against what they say, what they're trying to indoctrinate people. You have a mob of people trying to shame people, telling them that you have freedom of speech, but if you express your freedom of speech, you're a racist, you're a homophobic, you're a bigot, you're a Nazi. That's become the common one. You're a Nazi, and you have all these people now getting fired. I've been reading about professors and teachers getting fired. Some have now resigned because they can't take it no more, because they did not sign up for this. They didn't sign up to be political activists at schools. They didn't sign up to teach people that this is the way you should think. They signed up to teach people how to think, critical thinking, and that's completely gone out the window. And it's really sad, because these people have dedicated their whole life to their, to be teachers, to be professors, and now they find themselves losing their jobs. And you say to yourself, well, they could just go to the private sector. You can't go to the private sector, which is, we talked about that anymore. Back in the days, you can go and be like, I'm going to be a Catholic school teacher. And not to say that there's no good Catholic schools out there, or private institutions.
They're
but
few and far between.
Exactly. But you can't even run to those anymore. Right. And it's getting worse and worse. I was watching a video by PragerU, and it was about this mayor in Cleveland who went in front of the board of education, and he found out that they were allowing teachers to show pornographic material to the students in high school. And he was so outraged. He took it to a judge, and the judge says, yeah, this is completely illegal. So he went to the board, and it's one of those like whoa moments, and it's like heck yeah moments. You watch him; he goes and he sits there very calmly, and he's in front of the board, and he's like, members of the board, you either, it came to my attention that you're allowing teachers in your district to promote this pornographic material. I spoke to a judge, so here's your option: either you resigned, or you will be charged. And it's like all these parents get up and they start clapping. And I was like, yes. Whoa, but and he's a martyr, because you think he's going to get any support from his governor or from his other or local representatives or, senators? Heck no, they're probably going to attack him and try to dig up all the dirt on him and make him look like he's crazy or whatever. But this is the world that we live in.
So I did want to interject those who are maybe on that fence of, well, their job's on the line. There's this new mandate with 100+ employees. They have to receive the vaccine. Well, listening to local Catholic radio here, which is connected to EWTN, they made it very clear that there's actually in all 50 states, there is a religious exemption form that can be signed, that can be filled out, that can be sent, and it's obviously against the law to fire someone based on their religion, right, their religious beliefs. And this also applies to, I think, at least 43 states with those who are in colleges, right, who are studying. So if you can find this, anyone who's listening that's interested, 1peter5.com, Bishop Schneider affidavit, religious exemption, COVID vaccine. Once again, HTTPS 1peter5.com, Bishop Schneider, SCHNEIDER, affidavit, religious exemption, COVID vaccine.
Hopefully you were able to write all that down. If I'm just kidding. No, we're going to put the link on the podcast notes. So keep an eye out for it. And we'll probably post something on social media with that, because this is something that a lot of people are like, and thank you, Dennis. That's freaking amazing that you were able to bring that up, because a lot of us don't know, okay, what do we do? I'm not going to lose my job. Like I live in California over here, like my kids got to eat. My children need to eat. Like I need to I need to know what I have on my corner, who's fighting with me and for me. And so that's one of the best tools that you could have given us right now. And like I said, we're going to put them on the podcast notes because a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm fired up, but my union's never going to do this. And most of my coworkers are on the other side. So what do I do? And this is exactly what we can do. So I'm kind of pumped if you can't notice. I like it. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna end the meet and we're gonna come back to you, Dennis, because this needs to continue.
Stand by, gentlemen, and hope we'll see you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Whew, she's